Okay, so couple of things. First of all, I started reading a different story, but it was really long and I kept on mispronouncing words, and I was like, I'm just gonna move on from this because I want to seem like I know what I'm doing with my life. Second of all, this is on YouTube because it turns out that Vimeo will let me have X amount of video uploaded a week, and I talk quite a lot, so that's just not going to work out for me. Third of all, this is a separate YouTube channel that I have been using due to the fact that I want to have a separate channel exclusively for reading, and it makes sense to not have it tied to my main Google account, I think. Maybe. I don't know. So anyway, this tale is called The Tale of Benjamin Bunny. Look at his little hat. So cute. One morning, a little rabbit sat on a bank. That came out sounding really weird. I said bank. It sounded like I said what? Okay, I promise I'm going to focus this time and I'm not going to go on tangents every 5 seconds. One morning, a little rabbit sat on a bank. He pricked his ears and listened to the trit-trot of a pony. A gig was coming along the road. It was driven by Mr. McGregor, and beside him sat Mrs. McGregor in her best bonnet. They ate Peter Rabbit's father in a pie. That's a sin. As soon as they had passed, little Benjamin Bunny slid down into the road and set off, with a hop, skip, and a jump, to call upon his relations, who lived in the wood at the back of Mr. McGregor's garden. Looks like he's related to Peter Rabbit. Is he? We'll find out right now. That wood was full of rabbit holes, and in the neatest, sandiest hole of all lived Benjamin's aunt and his cousins, Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. There's the relation. All right, there we go. All comes full circle. That's how the universe works. Old Mrs. Rabbit was a widow. She earned her living by knitting rabbit wool mittens and muffetees. I once bought a pair at a bazaar. She also sold herbs and rosemary tea and rabbit tobacco, which is what we call lavender. Little Benjamin did not very much want to see his aunt. He came round the back of the fir tree and nearly tumbled upon the top of his cousin Peter. Peter was sitting by himself. He looked poorly and was dressed in a red cotton pocket handkerchief. Peter, said little Benjamin in a whisper, who has got your clothes? Oh my goodness. Look at sad little Peter in a little handkerchief. He's so sad inside. And he's naked, kind of. Peter replied, the scarecrow in Mr. McGregor's garden, and described how he had been chased in the garden and had dropped his shoes and coat. Little Benjamin sat down beside his cousin and assured him that Mr. McGregor had gone out on a gig, and Mrs. McGregor also, and certainly for the day, because she was wearing her best bonnet. Peter said he hoped that it would rain. At this point, old Mrs. Rabbit's voice was heard inside the rabbit hole, calling out, Cottontail, Cottontail, fetch some more chamomile. But almost rhymes. It's so close. I'm really cold. Hold on. Okay. Peter said he thought he might feel better if he went for a walk. They went away hand in hand and got upon the flat top of the wall at the bottom of the wood. From there they looked down into Mr. McGregor's garden. Peter's coat and shoes were plainly to be seen upon the scarecrow, topped off with an old tam-o'-shanter of Mr. McGregor's. Little Benjamin said, it spoils people's clothes to squeeze under a gate. The proper way to get in is to climb down a pear tree. Peter fell down head first, but it was of no consequence, as the bed below was newly raked and quite soft. It had been sown with lettuces. Why do they say lettuces plural? Because I'm pretty sure the plural of lettuce is just lettuce. I have no answer. There lived a great many odd little footmarks all over the bed, especially little Benjamin, who was wearing clogs. What a nerd. One time I found a spider in my clog when I was like 10. I'd been wearing it for 10 minutes, and a spider crawled out, and I was never the same again. Little Benjamin said that the first thing to be done was to get back Peter's clothes, in order that they might be able to use the pocket handkerchief. They took them off the scarecrow. There had been rain during the night. There was water in the shoes, and the coat had somewhat shrunk. Benjamin tied it on the tam-o'-shanter, but it was too big for him. Tied on the tam-o'-shanter. Oh, so it's a hat. I didn't know what that was. It's a hat. Then he suggested that they should fill the pocket handkerchief with onions as a little present for his aunt. Peter did not seem to be enjoying himself. He kept hearing noises. Can you blame him? Like, he almost died here last time. Come on, Benjamin. You can relive the scene of trauma. I apologize. That was over the top. Benjamin, on the contrary, was perfectly at home and ate a lettuce leaf. He said that he was in the habit of coming to the garden with his father to get lettuces for their Sunday dinner. The name of little Benjamin's papa was old Mr. Benjamin Bunny. The lettuces were certainly very fine. You can see his little hat. That's what he's wearing in the beginning on the cover page. And here we've got garden and things happening in it. Keep running into the footrest of this chair because it doesn't close all the way, so it's like digging into my back. It's terribly unpleasant. Peter did not eat anything. He said he should like to go home. Presently he dropped half the onions. Little Benjamin said it was not possible to get back up the pear tree with a load of vegetables. Why'd you get the vegetables, Benjamin? I'm so mad. He led the way boldly towards the other end of the garden. They went on along a little walk of planks under a sunny red brick wall. The mice sat on their doorsteps cracking cherry stones, and they winked at Peter Rabbit and little Benjamin Bunny. Presently Peter let the pocket handkerchief go again. They got amongst flower pots and frames and tubs. Peter heard noises worse than ever, and his eyes were big as lollipops. He was a step or two in front of his cousin when suddenly he stopped. I don't know how well you could see those pictures. I wasn't looking. This is what those little rabbits saw around that corner. Little Benjamin took one look, and then, in half a minute less than no time, that's a clever way to put it, he hid himself and Peter and the onions underneath a large basket. The cat got up and stretched herself, and came and sniffed at the basket. Perhaps she liked the smell of onions. Anyway, she sat down upon the top of the basket. Now, I kind of ruined the dramatic effect here for you, because you are supposed to see the picture of the cat when they say, this is what the little rabbit saw around that corner, but I did not show it to you. So I'll show you now. Better late than never. Oh, wait. What side? This side. Kit Kat. She sat there for 5 hours. Sounds like one of my cats, or any cat in the world. I cannot draw you a picture of Benjamin underneath the basket, of Peter and Benjamin underneath the basket, because it was quite dark, and because the smell of onions was fearful. It made Peter Rabbit and little Benjamin cry. The sun got behind the wood, and it was quite late in the afternoon, but still the cat sat upon the basket. At length there was a pitter-patter, and some bits of mortar fell from the wall above. The cat looked up and saw Mr. Benjamin Bunny prancing along the top of the wall of the terrace. He was smoking a pipe of rabbit tobacco, lavender. See, I can retain information. And had a little switch in his hand. He was looking for his son. Ooh, that's rough. Old Mr. Bunny had no opinion whatever of cats. He took a tremendous jump off the wall and onto the top of the cat, cuffed it off the basket, and kicked it into the greenhouse, scratching off a handful of fur. Oh, be nice. The cat was too much surprised to scratch back. When old Mr. Bunny had driven the cat into the greenhouse, he locked the door. Then he came back to the basket and took his son Benjamin by the ears and whipped him with the little switch. Then he took out his nephew Peter. Oh, don't hit the bunnies. That's mean. That's not necessary. You don't gotta be like that, Mr. Bunny. Wow, I feel like I was a lot more graceful about this yesterday. Then he took out the handkerchief of onions and marched out of the garden. When Mr. McGregor returned half an hour later, he observed several things which perplexed him. It looked as though some person had been walking all over the garden in a pair of clogs, only the footmarks were too ridiculously little. Also, he could not understand how the cat should have managed to shut herself up inside the greenhouse, locking the door upon the outside. When Peter got home, his mother forgave him because she was so glad to see that he had found his shoes and coat. Cottontail and Peter folded up the pocket handkerchief, and old Mrs. Rabbit strung up the onions and hung them from the kitchen ceiling with bunches of herbs and the rabbit tobacco. The end. Don't really understand. I feel like less happened than in other stories, but okay, I'll take it. It was cute. Next is The Tale of Two Bad Mice, which I might read in about 30 seconds, but also, I've got Land Before Time paused right now, which I simply have to see the end. Yeah, it came out this year. It's a new thing, I think. Reba McEntire is in it. I don't know who she is, but she's in it. Yeah, okay, alright. Have a lovely day.